So today we are going to be attempting something that I've heard over and over again is not possible. Now in the last video where we were messing around with this stone right here, I'll leave a link to that video at the end of this video in case you're wondering what that video was. But in that video, I got tons of people asking me whether or not you could sharpen ceramic knives.
In a world where ceramic knives are known to be throwaway consumables, one man stands in the way.
Alright, so right out of the box, it will slice phone book paper. It's not a super clean slice, but it will do it, and it won't shave. At least it's not a very good shave. So it's not the sharpest knife that I've ever pulled out of the box, but it's definitely not dull, I guess you could say. So it has a very interesting feeling edge. It doesn't feel like a typical steel edge. I'm not real sure how to explain it. The question is, how did they sharpen it? Wow, there is a lot of really good advertising jargon on the back of this packaging. Our advanced ceramic is a material close in hardness to diamond with a rock-like edge that will not roll like steel blades. The result is a razor-sharp blade that retains its original sharpness more than 10 times longer than steel knives.
That's all my cardboard.
I don't know exactly how many cuts that was, but I will tell you right now that each one of the flaps, you know, the flaps to close the box and then the flaps on the bottom to close the box, was approximately 40 cuts per flap. So that's 160 cuts times 2, and then we had the main body of the box. That was some serious cardboard cutting, and see if it'll still slice phone book paper. Wasn't as good as it was before, but it'll still slice it. It'll sort of slice phone book paper okay, and it doesn't shave. I think this is a good starting point for our sharpening. Oh, wow. So first thing I noticed, first pass on this stone, is that it feels very hard. I can tell that immediately after the first pass. Oh yeah, that is definitely a very hard blade. And this is me full of optimism. Wow, it feels duller than it did when I started. Maybe I'm gonna have to go back and relearn how to sharpen again. So by now, even the hardest, most difficult steels in the entire world to sharpen would be fairly close to being sharp. And this actually feels duller than it did when I first started. I've got no idea. We're just gonna go ahead and try a strop. I have no idea whether or not we're apex. I have no idea if a strop's gonna even do anything. I don't know if we should go to a coarser stone. So I tried everything to get this knife sharp. I tried coarse diamond stones all the way through extra fine diamond stones. The more I sharpened on the stones, the duller it became. I even tried stropping, which actually seemed to do more than the stones did. However, I stropped for ages, but it never really took a super fine edge, at least not one I'd call very sharp. So the thing is, if I take my finger and run it down the edge, it feels like there's like micro chipping. It feels like chips. So after realizing I had a chipping issue, I ended up taking it back to the extra fine DMT stone and attempted to completely profile the blade on that stone. thinking that the coarser stones were causing the chipping. So I'm definitely apexing because I'm working that bevel back and forth to a point where, you know, we're making one bevel small, then the other bevel's large, and we'll make the other bevel small and the other bevel's large. I mean, it would cut you if you cut yourself, obviously, but it's not as sharp as it was when we first got it because it won't slice phone book paper and it most definitely will not shave. So I don't know how to make it sharper. What? So after hours and hours of messing around on different stones and strops, I gave up and even filmed the ending of the video thinking that I couldn't get it
With that
sharp.
being said, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
I felt defeated. Okay guys, so the things that we had to do to sharpen this ceramic knife were off the charts. I don't think I've ever had this much trouble sharpening anything in my entire life, and here we go. These are my thoughts on the ceramic knife and why it's practically impossible to sharpen. So first off, traditional stones, even traditional diamond stones, which by the way you need in order to sharpen ceramic, you need diamond stones in order to be able to remove material from ceramic because ceramic is such a hard material. That doesn't mean that it makes a good knife material. Ceramic is extremely brittle. If I drop this on the floor, it would probably shatter into several pieces. When you take an extremely brittle material that's not super strong and you bring it to a very fine apex, which you need a very fine apex in a knife because thinner things pass through other things easier, you can have something called microchipping or just chipping in general. And that's when the apex is just not strong enough to support itself even while you're sharpening it. When you pass this on even a very fine DMT extra fine diamond stone, those diamond particles are simply, they're passing over that apex and they're chipping it rather than remove material where the diamonds actually cut the material and then remove some of that material. The diamonds are simply kind of passing over the apex and chipping off that apex rather than pulling material off, if that makes sense. Maybe you can visualize that, maybe you can't, but I could not get this anywhere close to being sharp on any type of a traditional diamond stone. However, when I took this to a much finer diamond compound strop, I started to see some improvement. So my thought was, okay, well, let's power this process. And I made a power stropping wheel out of MDF and applied 3 micron diamond paste to the first wheel, which got me fairly sharp. Now I know I'm on to something. So then I go to a 1 micron diamond wheel and it will slice paper and shave no problem and all that other stuff. I cannot, however, get this to hair whittling sharp. Even taking this to a much finer strop progression than 1 micron, it just won't get there. And I've spent way too much time trying to get this to whittle hair. I can't do it. If there's anybody out there who can do it, I would love to see it. Let me know.
So I wanted to clarify something here. I believe the reason the diamond stones didn't work was simply because we didn't have a fine enough grit. Diamond stone. I believe a very fine grit is needed to help mitigate the chipping issue, which is why the diamond compound worked. However, I still believe that there's microchipping happening at a much smaller level, which is the reason I couldn't get it to hair whittling. The MDF stropping wheel simply allowed me to remove a decent amount of material at 3 microns, rather than spend hours stropping chips out of the edge. Ceramic, in my opinion, does not make a great knife material because most people who buy this are not going to have a powered stropping wheel setup like this. This is a $20 ceramic knife. In my opinion, you're going to be much better served buying some type of a high carbon steel knife for $20 and sharpening it with traditional sharpening stones or some type of beginner sharpening system like a Lansky or something like that. Nothing stays sharp forever. Even ceramic dulls just the same as any other knife, except ceramic dulls in a sense where it chips away. It doesn't necessarily wear away. At least that's been my observation. My question is, where do the chips go? Because there's no way that you're going to use this at any level of actual sharpness on a cutting board without some type of microchipping happening. There's just not enough strength in that apex in order to support itself while it comes in contact with a cutting board and most likely any type of food. But anyway, my opinion, stay away from ceramic knives. Just buy a decent quality high carbon steel knife and you can be much better served. Unless you have this type of a setup and for some reason you just like ceramic knives. Doesn't bother me any. Hopefully this video was somewhat entertaining and educational. If you liked it, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. It really makes a big difference and helps support the channel and what I'm doing here. Really appreciate it. Trust me. And again, thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next video.